A transmission rebuild is going to cost you anywhere between $2,500 and $5,000. That is the number your mechanic throws at you the second you walk in with a slipping transmission. 9 times out of 10, they are not lying to you. But here is what they are also not telling you. There is a specific procedure discovered and documented by Honda and Toyota engineers in Japan that has fixed slipping transmissions on hundreds of thousands of cars. It takes 15 minutes, it costs under $30, and it requires absolutely zero tools. Most mechanics do not mention it, not because it does not work, because it works too well. Today I am going to walk you through exactly what this method is, why it works, which cars it works on, and critically, when it will not save you and you actually do need the rebuild. Because I am not here to sell you false hope. I am here to give you information that could save you $4,000 before you hand over your keys. First, what does slipping actually mean? If you've driven a car with a slipping transmission, you already know the feeling in your gut. You press the accelerator. The engine revs up, sometimes all the way to 3,000 or 4,000 revolutions per minute, but the car barely moves. It is like the connection between the engine and the wheels just disconnects for a moment. Then it catches. Then it slips again. You might also notice delayed engagement when you shift from park to drive, and the car just sits there for a second before lurching forward. Or harsh, clunky shifts between gears, or a burning smell coming from under the hood, especially after highway driving. Here is the part most people do not know. Your automatic transmission is a hydraulic machine. It does not shift gears through mechanical leverage alone. It shifts through fluid pressure. The transmission fluid is pumped through a system of passages, valves, and clutch packs, and that hydraulic pressure is what actually engages and disengages each gear. The fluid is not just lubrication, it is the mechanism. And when that fluid degrades, breaks down, or gets contaminated, the entire system starts to fail. Engine speed surges, but vehicle speed lags. Gears slip. The transmission hunts for gears it cannot quite find. And here is the number mechanics won't put on a banner outside their shop. The vast majority of transmission slipping cases are caused by nothing more than old, degraded, or incorrect transmission fluid. Not worn gears, not a failed torque converter, not a cracked valve body. Fluid. That's it. Why does old fluid cause slipping? Fresh automatic transmission fluid, called ATF, is engineered to a very precise specification. It has a specific viscosity, which is its thickness and flow rate under pressure. It contains friction modifiers, which are chemical additives that allow clutch packs inside the transmission to engage smoothly without chattering or slipping. It has seal conditioning agents that keep rubber seals pliable and leak-free. It has detergents that prevent varnish and sludge from building up on internal surfaces. Over time, typically between 30,000 and 60,000 miles, all of those properties break down. The friction modifiers deplete. The fluid oxidizes and turns from bright red to dark brown. The viscosity drops, meaning the fluid becomes thinner and loses its ability to build and hold hydraulic pressure. The detergents become saturated with sludge and varnish particles. At that point, your transmission is still trying to shift gears using hydraulic pressure it can no longer generate. The clutch packs engage and slip because the friction modifiers that should be helping them grip are completely gone. That's your slipping transmission, not a $4,000 rebuild, a $15 bottle of the right fluid. The Japanese connection Honda and Toyota, two of the most reliability-obsessed automakers on the planet, both developed and officially documented a specific automatic transmission fluid service procedure that goes well beyond just draining and refilling your transmission once. It is in their factory service manuals. Honda's own technical documentation for transmissions in the Odyssey, Pilot, and Accord calls for a 3 to 4 times drain and fill sequence when correcting a transmission fluid issue. Toyota service documentation for transmissions in the Camry, Corolla, and Sienna specifically references multiple drain and fills spaced out by short drives to properly displace old fluid. Here is why this matters. When you do a standard transmission fluid drain, you are only draining the fluid from the transmission pan, the metal sump at the bottom of the unit. That is roughly 30 to 40% of the total fluid volume. The remaining 60 to 70% is still sitting inside the transmission, in the torque converter, in the valve body, and in all the clutch pack circuits. So if you drain once and refill once, you still have the majority of your old, degraded fluid in there, now just diluted with fresh fluid. You have not actually fixed the problem. You have slightly diluted it. The Japanese method solves this with a sequence of drain and fill cycles, each one replacing another 30 to 40% of the fluid. By the third cycle, you have replaced over 90% of the original fluid with fresh automatic transmission fluid called ATF. The friction modifiers are restored. The hydraulic pressure comes back. The clutch packs grip like they are supposed to, and the transmission stops slipping. One owner on the Honda Odyssey forums documented this exact scenario. His 2017 Odyssey started slipping immediately after a garage did a single ATF change using non-Honda fluid. The transmission, which had been perfectly smooth, became jerky and hesitant almost overnight. He did 3 drain and fills himself using Honda's factory DW1A-TF, driving a short distance between each cycle to mix the fluids. After the third cycle, the slipping was completely gone. His forum post says one word at the top: solved. Not $2,500, not $5,000, 3 fluid changes over a weekend. The wrong fluid problem, and why it is more common than you think. This brings up one of the most overlooked causes of transmission slipping, and it is one that mechanics at quick lube shops cause themselves, using the wrong automatic transmission fluid, ATF. There is no such thing as a single universal automatic transmission fluid. Honda transmissions require Honda DW1. Toyota transmissions require Toyota DWS ATF. Many modern ZF-built transmissions, found in BMWs, Land Rovers, and Fords, require ZF Lifeguard 8. Use the wrong fluid in any of these transmissions and you will cause slipping, shuddering, and harsh shifts almost immediately. The friction modifiers are different. The viscosity specifications are different. The additive packages are chemically different. The problem is that Jiffy Lube, quick lube shops, and even many independent mechanics use bulk ATF from massive drums, a single universal fluid they pour into every car that rolls through the bay. For older American vehicles with simple 3-speed or 4-speed automatics, this usually works fine. For any modern Honda, Toyota, or European vehicle, it can destroy smooth shifting within days. And this is not a small number of cars. The Toyota Camry is the best-selling car in America most years. The Honda Accord and CR-V are not far behind. Millions of these vehicles are getting the wrong ATF poured into them every year at quick lube shops. Then their owners show up at the dealership complaining of slipping, and they get quoted for rebuilds. You seriously can't make this stuff up. Here is exactly how you do it. The 15-minute procedure. Before I walk you through this, the most important step happens first. Identify the correct ATF specification for your specific vehicle. Open your owner's manual. Look it up on the manufacturer's website. Or go to a dealership parts counter and ask them what ATF your transmission requires. Do not skip this step. Do not use a generic compatible fluid. Use the exact specification your manufacturer calls for. This is non-negotiable. Step 1. Check your current fluid level and condition. Most vehicles made before 2014 have a transmission dipstick. It is usually a red or yellow ring near the back of the engine bay. Pull it out, wipe it clean, reinsert it, and pull it again. Look at the color. Fresh ATF is bright red and slightly transparent. If your fluid is dark brown, smells burnt, or looks black, that confirms degradation. If the fluid is simply low, below the minimum mark, top it off before doing anything else. A critically low fluid level mimics the exact same symptoms as degraded fluid, and topping it off takes 2 minutes and genuinely zero tools. Step 2. Do your first drain and fill. For vehicles with a drain plug on the transmission pan, most Toyotas, many Hondas, and a large number of domestic vehicles, you need a drain pan, the correct ATF, and a long funnel. Drain the pan, reinstall the plug, refill the exact amount that came out through the dipstick tube. Start to finish, this takes roughly 15 minutes. Do not rush it. Do not overfill. Put back what came out. Step 3. Drive the vehicle for at least 50 to 100 miles. This is the step most people skip, and it is exactly why a single drain and fill often does not fix slipping. You need to circulate the fresh fluid throughout the entire transmission, through the valve body, through the torque converter, through all the clutch pack circuits, so that when you drain again, you are pulling out a genuine mixture of old and new fluid, not just the fresh stuff you just put in. Honda technical documentation specifically recommends cycling through all gear positions and driving before the next drain. Step 4. Repeat the drain and fill a second time. Same process. Drain, refill with the correct ATF, drive 50 to 100 miles. Step 5. Do a third drain and fill. At this point, after 3 cycles, you have replaced over 90% of the original fluid. If the slipping was caused by degraded or incorrect fluid, which it is in the majority of cases, the transmission will have noticeably improved or completely resolved. 3 cycles is the key. Total fluid cost for this entire 3-cycle process is roughly $25 to $60, depending on whether your transmission requires original equipment manufacturer fluid from the dealership or a widely available equivalent. Compare that to $2,500 to $5,000. The thing mechanics won't say out loud. Let me be direct for a second. There are good, honest mechanics out there who absolutely would tell you about this method. But there is an uncomfortable reality in the transmission repair industry. A full rebuild generates $2,000 to $5,000 in labor and parts revenue. A fluid service generates maybe $80. The economic incentive to recommend the rebuild over the fluid change is enormous, especially when the customer is already standing there panicked and ready to authorize whatever it takes to fix the problem. And here is the thing, they can justify it, because technically, a slipping transmission does indicate some level of internal wear. The friction material on clutch packs does wear down over time. Eventually, a transmission will need a rebuild, but eventually and right now, urgently, for $4,000 are 2 very different things. If a fluid change gives you another 50,000 to 80,000 miles of smooth, reliable shifting, that is a completely legitimate outcome, but you cannot make that choice if nobody tells you the option exists. But wait, what about the "don't change old fluid" warning? You have probably heard it. Do not change the transmission fluid on a high-mileage vehicle that has never been serviced. And there is truth to this warning, but it has been catastrophically misapplied by people who use it to justify never servicing their transmission at all. Here is what actually happens. When a transmission runs for over 100,000 miles on the same degraded fluid, internal sludge and varnish deposits can coat worn components and act as a kind of filler. Fresh automatic transmission fluid, or ATF, has strong detergent properties. If you introduce it all at once, those deposits loosen and circulate, potentially clogging the transmission filter and making things worse in the short term. This is exactly why the multi-cycle drain and fill method is dramatically safer than a full power flush on a neglected transmission. Rather than forcing large volumes of aggressive new fluid backward through the system under pressure, which is what a flush machine does, the drain and fill method gradually dilutes and displaces the old fluid over multiple gentle cycles. The detergent effect is milder and controlled. The transition is gradual. The experienced transmission community has been saying this for years. Bob is the Oil Guy, one of the most respected do-it-yourself automotive maintenance forums online, consistently documents this exact position. Nobody who actually knows transmissions recommends the machine flush. Drain and fill cycles done properly with filter inspection, when possible, are the gold standard, every time. When this won't work, be honest with yourself. This method works when the root cause is fluid. It does not work when the root cause is physical damage. Here is how to tell the difference. If your transmission started slipping gradually over time, and you are at high mileage with no recent fluid service, that is a strong indicator of fluid-related failure. Start with the fluid. If the slipping is accompanied by loud clunking, banging, or grinding noises, that points to mechanical damage, such as broken gear components, failed clutch packs, or a damaged torque converter. Fluid will not fix physical breakage. If you pull the dipstick and the fluid has a metallic shimmer to it, or you can see visible debris and metal particles floating in it, that is evidence of internal wear that is already generating metal shavings. Fresh fluid cannot reverse physical damage, and in that case, the rebuild conversation is real. If you plug in an OBD2 scanner, which you can buy for $30 at any auto parts store, and you see specific transmission trouble codes pointing to individual solenoids, that is a different, separate repair. Solenoid replacement typically runs $150 to $400, and it is far less invasive than a full rebuild, but it is also not fixed by fluid alone. The honest version of this is simple. Try the fluid first. It costs $30 and a weekend. If it works, you just save thousands of dollars. If it does not improve the slipping at all after 3 full cycles with the correct fluid, then you have a genuine mechanical problem and the rebuild conversation is warranted. But try the $30 fix before the $4,000 fix, every single time. A Toyota Camry owner documented that his car had 101,000 miles, with the original transmission fluid never changed. After a shop performed a single fluid service, the transmission began slipping within 1,000 miles. He was quoted a rebuild. Instead, he performed 3 successive drain and fill cycles using the correct Toyota WS automatic transmission fluid, ATF. The slipping stopped completely. He avoided a $3,500 repair bill and spent roughly $45 on fluid. A GMC Acadia owner with 102,000 miles began experiencing shuddering and slipping right after a generic automatic transmission fluid change at a quick lube. The shop had used a bulk universal fluid instead of the GM-specific Dexron 6 that the transmission required. 3 drain and fill cycles with the correct specification fixed the problem entirely. These are not miracle stories. They are the entirely predictable result of understanding how your transmission actually works and giving it what it actually needs. The maintenance schedule you should actually be following. Here is the dirty secret about lifetime fluid. The marketing claims some manufacturers make about sealed transmissions that supposedly never need service. There is no such thing as lifetime fluid if you plan to keep your vehicle longer than the warranty period. Transmission fluid breaks down over time, regardless of whether the system has a drain plug or a dipstick. In manufacturer language, lifetime means the lifetime of the powertrain warranty, not the lifetime of your car. Transmission specialists recommend servicing your automatic transmission fluid every 30,000 to 50,000 miles under normal driving conditions. If you tow regularly, drive in heavy stop-and-go traffic, or live in extreme temperatures, drop that to every 25,000 miles. At those service intervals, you will rarely accumulate fluid degradation bad enough to cause slipping. A transmission that gets serviced regularly can last 200,000 miles or more without ever needing a rebuild. A transmission that runs on original fluid for 130,000 miles is gambling every single mile. The Honda owner community has documented this for over 2 decades. Their recommendation is to do a 4-cycle drain and fill when you first buy a used Honda with unknown service history, then a single drain and fill every 15,000 miles after that. Follow that schedule, and in their words, you will almost certainly never have a transmission problem for the life of the vehicle. That is not a guarantee. But it is a track record built across hundreds of thousands of real-world cars. Hard to argue with that. One more thing before you walk into that shop. First, what is the specific cause of the slipping fluid degradation? A failed solenoid, worn clutch packs, or a damaged torque converter? Ask the mechanic to name the exact component that failed and explain how they diagnosed it. Second, has the transmission fluid been checked for both level and the correct specification? Third, would a multi-cycle drain and fill with the factory-specified automatic transmission fluid, ATF, be a reasonable first step before committing to a full rebuild? A good mechanic will take those questions seriously. They will either tell you specifically why the fluid approach will not work in your case, which is a legitimate answer when there is confirmed mechanical damage, or they will agree that trying the fluid first makes sense. If a mechanic dismisses those questions entirely and simply pushes for a rebuild without any diagnostic explanation, walk out the door and go somewhere else. Your transmission is one of the most expensive components in your vehicle. Protecting it with the right fluid at the right interval costs a few dollars a year. Rebuilding it because nobody told you to check the fluid costs thousands. The difference between those two outcomes is information. Honda and Toyota engineers figured this out decades ago. Now you know it too. If this video saved you money, or at least saved you from making a very expensive mistake, hit that like button. It genuinely helps the channel grow. Subscribe so you do not miss the next one, because we are here every week giving you the information dealerships and repair shops do not advertise. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.